The LA Clippers need to go all in this season to avoid potential disaster. After another postseason failure due to injury for the Los Angeles Clippers, they continue their quest for a trip to the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history. For the fourth straight season, the dynamic duo of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have failed to play 60 or more games in the regular season. With both Kawhi and Paul George on the wrong side of 30, with player auctions next summer for the both of them that they could potentially opt out of, along with a brand new arena set to debut for the 2024-25 season, the Clippers have a ton of pressure on them to have a successful season this year, and that on its own is why the Clippers need to push all the chips into the middle of the table. The all-in play that needs to be made is acquiring James Harden. James Harden requested a trade out of Philadelphia this summer, and his list of destinations is very short. That one destination is the Los Angeles Clippers. The upside of this trade is much greater than what people think for the Clippers. For the large part of Harden's career, he's been an Iron Man. While he's in the latter stages of his career, he has still shown at times over the course of the regular season, as well as a handful of moments in the playoffs, that he can carry the offense. With Paul George and Kawhi Leonard bound to miss games this year to either load management or small injuries along the course of the regular season, having Harden there to steady the ship while guys are in and out of the lineup will help tremendously with playoff seeding for next year. What makes Harden so great at keeping the offense steady is his otherworldly playmaking. Regardless of how you feel about his game, Harden is one of the league's premier playmakers, and he helped Joel Embiid secure an MVP as well as one of his most efficient scoring seasons in his career. Harden will not only elevate the play of Kawhi and Paul George, but arguably what's more important, he will elevate the play of the role players that he will often be sharing the floor with. While Russell Westbrook has been a breath of fresh air in that department, the Clippers have not had a floor general of Harden's abilities since Chris Paul's departure about half a decade ago. The issue is the price. But if I'm the Clippers, with an aging nucleus, both players have player options, which I imagine they will likely decline, I need to go get James Harden for what potentially could be this team's last run as a unit. The sticking point for the Clippers is likely draft capital and Terrence Mann. It seems like the Clippers are completely uninterested in moving Terrence Mann in a potential James Harden package, and I think it's just a little foolish. While Terrence Mann is a really high quality role player and a nice player to have on your team, he is 27 years old now, and it's more than likely that this is all he is, and that's not a bad thing. But the Clippers have been talking about him like he's the next Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which I think at this point in his career is just not happening. The nucleus of a package for James Harden should look like either one of these. Norman Powell has to be in the trade for salary reasons, and also him being a legitimate player, which allows Philly to still be quote-unquote competitive. If the Clippers don't include either Terrence Mann or first-round draft picks, I doubt Philadelphia will be interested in making any trade discussions. I would argue that the Clippers are in a worse situation than Philadelphia. Philly's writing is already on the wall. It's very likely that Harden's not going to be coming back, so they have to scramble and figure out what they're going to do to surround Joel Embiid with. That is a definite. The Clippers, on the other hand, with two of their best players nearing the end of their deals and their physical primes, they still have a shot to make something happen with this roster. And when you add such a major foundational piece in a player like James Harden, it's extremely important that you get that deal done before camp. We saw what happened with Philadelphia when they first traded for James Harden 2 seasons ago in the middle of the season. While they had some great moments, it was very clear that there's a lot of growing pains and a lot of accommodations that both Joel and James needed to make for each other. If the Clippers acquire James Harden in the summertime before training camp, they will have all that time in the preseason and offseason to smooth things out so they're ready to go when the regular season rolls around. While moving all these assets and value around seemed like it might be a lot for Clippers fans, let's put all of this into perspective. The Clippers have 0 first-round picks for the next 3 drafts and only 2 second-round picks in the 2024 draft. The 2024 and 2026 firsts are completely unprotected and are in possession of Oklahoma City, and in 2025, they have a first-round draft pick swap. The war chest for the Clippers is completely empty, and this is the best chance remaining for LA to add high-level talent. If I were LA, I would part with Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, and some salary filler to Philly for James Harden and possibly PJ Tucker. And then after that, use some of the remaining tradable first-round picks they could use to acquire some wing depth to replace those who have aged out or those who will likely be included in the Harden trade for salary filler, such as Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, and Nicholas Batum. There are also a couple of free agents left on the market who could contribute to a winning basketball team in a small role, those being Kelly Oubre Jr., Terrence Ross, Derrick Jones Jr., and Jalen Noel. They're all very interesting players whose market value is in flux given the new CBA salary cap rules. With a core of James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard, I'd be willing to bet that any of the remaining free agents would be willing to come to the Clippers on a one-year, short-term, cheap deal to help them compete for an NBA championship. If the Clippers go forward and decide to shake things up this offseason, this is a potential depth chart that they could showcase for the regular season and eventually in the playoffs, and this is one of the best teams in the West. It's also important to note just how good the Western Conference has become. The Lakers and Suns have both improved dramatically this offseason. The Nuggets will once again be very dominant because they have the best player in the league. You also have the Grizzlies, the Warriors, and the Mavericks, which will all be stiff competition, as well as the Thunder being the wild card out west coming up this season. If the Clippers don't improve this season, after years of coming up short in the playoffs, there's a very good chance that this team could be in a far worse situation next summer.